Today we're going to be looking at a story. We're going to be reading a story, Kudzu Chaos. I want to challenge you to start looking around your neighborhoods as you are out and about, and I want you to look for this plant that is called kudzu. Kudzu Chaos. Written by Jennifer Holloway Lambie. Kudzu Chaos. Red Mud Flats was a sleepy little town until the Kudzu Chaos. We're still trying to figure out what happened. Some folks say it was the heavy rains. Others think it was the beginning of the end of time. We may never solve the mystery, but Kudzu changed our lives forever. Kudzu creeps across barns and winds around trees. It covers anything in its path. Old-timers say if you stand in one spot long enough, kudzu will grow across your feet. Our lives were normal until one summer night when the kudzu grew at an incredible rate. We went to sleep after an ordinary day, but the next morning we woke up to kudzu chaos. We had always lived with kudzu, but that night it took over. It was like a big green blanket thrown over our town. It grew across the streets and covered the cars. It grew across the roof of our house and down our chimney. Up and down the street, people looked out their windows and doors and wondered what to do about the kudzu. We were shut off from the world. Soon our food began to grow out. My mother said if a miracle didn't happen soon, we would have to eat the kudzu. Yuck! The mayor called a town meeting. "Citizens of Red Mud Flats," he cried, "we must break the tyranny of this kudzu." Our mayor always talked like that. It sounded like English, but no one really understood him. "We need a plan." "What about Kudzu Kate?" "Kudzu Katie? Maybe she could help us," I suggested. "Bobby Lee, that's a spectacular idea. A fearless volunteer can bring her here. She will deliver us from this botanical siege. Now, who will go?" I looked around and no hands. The mayor needed someone, so I volunteered. People clapped. My mother cried. My father patted my shoulder and said he was proud. Everyone agreed I was the best choice because I was experienced. I had played in the kudzu for years. I left the next morning. Look at that picture. It really has taken over. I left the next morning. The forest was spooky. Kudzu hung from the trees like green spaghetti. As I walked, I tried to remember the stories I'd heard about Kudzu Katie. I'd never seen her, but I'd heard she was a hillbilly who lived in the woods and grew kudzu on purpose. I'd also heard she had a book of recipes for magic spells, and kudzu leaves were the main ingredient. Near sundown, this is another good picture. The pictures are the best part. I love this story. Near sundown, I saw a small cottage with a big green kudzu garden. A woman wearing a faded dress and a braided kudzu belt was working in the garden. She wore a straw hat with kudzu vines hanging down the sides like locks of green hair. She looked strange, but her face was kind. She had to be Kudzu Katie. I gathered my courage and entered her garden, where I told her of our Kudzu Chaos. "Your town has a kudzu problem?" I think the only kudzu problem is not enough kudzu. But I might be able to help," she said. It's too late to leave tonight. Come inside and have supper. I'm cooking a kudzu casserole and biscuits with kudzu blossom jelly. I politely declined her offer, but soon my stomach started growling and the food did smell good. Eating even kudzu seemed better than starving, so I held my nose, took a bite. To my surprise, the food was delicious. I even had seconds. The next morning, we started out for town. By afternoon, we reached Red Mud Flats. As we climbed over the vines covering Main Street, Katie stopped and picked several leaves. She ate one and rolled her eyes as if she had just tasted the sweetest Georgia peach. At the town square, she sat on a thick vine and began reading an old book she pulled from her bag. People came out to the square to get a closer look. "What is she pursuing?" the mayor whispered. "Is it the instructions for ridding our fair city of this terrible plague? Can she perform a magnificent miracle that will save our village?" I shrugged my shoulders. Katie read as the townspeople gathered around the square. They were watching and waiting for the magic. At sunset, she asked for a flashlight and read through the night. At dawn, she closed the book and looked at our hopeful faces. "I'm sorry, neighbors. There's no magic to reverse your problem. You must learn to live with the kudzu." The crowd started to mumble. The mumble turned into a grumble. The grumble grew into a rumble, and the rumble became a roar. Standing below the statue of our founding father, Beauregard Fillmore Cotton Lewis, Katie raised her hands and cried, "Wait, wait! You don't understand. You don't have to live like this," she said, gesturing at the town around her. "For whatever reason, kudzu grows abundantly here. Use it to your advantage." Again, the crowd started to mumble. The mumble turned into a grumble. The grumble grew into a rumble, and the rumble grew into a roar. "Let her talk," I yelled, jumping up to the statue. "We've asked for help, so let's listen." The crowd hushed, and she told her plan. "Trim the kudzu from your streets and yards, but save the cuttings. Use large, strong vines like this one for making furniture. Weave smaller vines into baskets and rugs. Use the tender leaves for cooking and baking." "What will we do with the things we make?" asked the pharmacist. "Sell your kudzu crafts to tourists," said Katie. "Tourists love souvenirs." The crowd was silent. Then they started to mumble. The mumble turned into a hum. The hum grew into a whop. And the whop turned into a holler. "This will put Red Mud Flats on the map," cried the minister. "People will come from everywhere to buy our furniture and our baskets," shouted the sheriff. "We can make kudzu bread, kudzu jelly, kudzu pudding, and even kudzu ice cream," said the local chef. The whole town pitched in and made the plan a success. Red Mud Flats became famous for its kudzu crafts. The town elected Katie as mayor. We built a statue of her on the town square next to Beauregard Fillmore Cotton Lewis. It seemed fitting since Beauregard started our town and Katie saved it. Katie appointed me as her official assistant. Mostly that means I help her tend her kudzu gardens. Red Mud Flats survived the Kudzu Chaos, and became a better town. Who could have guessed that the same vine we considered a curse is now a celebrated crop? Life is really all about how you look at things. This story was inspired by a true artist, and I'm going to read to you about the author's note. I wanted to show you the picture first. Okay, the author's note. Kudzu Chaos was inspired by a real plant, kudzu. Kudzu was introduced to America in 1876 at the United States Exposition. It was originally presented as a decorative garden plant. In the 1930s, the U.S. Department of Agriculture planted thousands of kudzu seedlings along roads and hillsides to prevent erosion. And kudzu has had a strange hold on the South ever since. Almost everywhere you look, you can see the vine growing on utility poles, fences, trees, and anything else that doesn't move. Currently, it covers more than 2 million acres of forest land. The vine is difficult to eliminate once it has taken root, and it grows at an amazing rate. At peak growing season, kudzu can grow more than a foot a day. If the world continues to get warmer, scientists say that by 2030, the vine could spread as far north as the Great Lakes. People have found creative ways to manage kudzu. The leaves and shoots are used in cooking, and the vines are used to make furniture, baskets, and handmade paper. Like these artists. I'll show you the picture again. So today we are going to be looking at plant adaptations, and we're going to talk a little bit more today about that.